Hey guys, and welcome to this video. So in today's video I wanted to talk about one thing, and that is Canada's silent tax. Now this silent tax has been going on rife for not just the pandemic but a couple of years. And the thing is, this silent tax, it's been around for a while and it's just not talked about that much. You see, people always say about, oh yes, we have inflation, but they don't really realize what that means. And I wanted to explain it to you, explain how it happens and the consequences that are happening right now because of this pandemic's mismanagement of government spending. Now, you can say what you like and say that the government did a great job, or no government's perfect, and I would agree with you there. But there has been reckless spending and reckless oversight of monetary policy here in Canada and the US. We have some of the highest inflation in the Western world in Canada and the US. And the US just reported again record inflation yesterday, 1% rise in just a month. And that means if your wages didn't go up, you're effectively being silently taxed 1% more that month. I mean, inflation is literally your spending power being reduced if your wages aren't going up. And let's face it, guys, at the moment, it's a pandemic. If you ask for a pay rise, I guarantee most of the time your employer is just going to say, well, the pandemic's hit us really hard, and it has hit tons of businesses hard. It's really difficult for them to find, and it's just really difficult. So anyway, I just wanted to come on here and talk about it because nobody else seems to talk about it, and it is literally going to be the thing that turns this country, because eventually what's going to happen is very simple. The Bank of Canada and its reckless monetary policy and spending, what will happen is it will get to a point where it's so high that the calls within government, the calls within society for them to do something about it, either reduce quantitative easing or raise interest rates, that they will do it. And when they do it, the funny thing is, I don't think it will have any effect. The thing is, when they eventually come to raise interest rates, the rate is at 0.25% right now. And I think, and I'm just spitballing by the way, I can't edit this video, we're away, so I'm just gonna upload it from my phone and that'll be that. But the rate right now is at 0.25%. So what do you think it's going to be in a year's time? Well, I think maybe it might be 0.5%, which is still insanely low compared to what it was before the pandemic. Now, what I have a feeling is going to happen is they're going to raise rates and it's not going to have an effect. It's not going to have the effect that they thought that it would have. And that is going to in turn make them panic a little bit. Because the thing is, guys, the Bank of Canada's responsibility to us is to maintain stability in the financial system. Like, that's literally what it says on their website. If you go and look, it's to maintain stability in the financial system, to make sure banks are properly regulated and everything like that. They're basically there to maintain the financial system. And the thing is, the financial system is not being maintained properly. I mean, we have rapid inflation right now. In the US, it's over 5%. Just think about that, 5%. Like, the taxes essentially went up 5%. And it's just insane that nobody is talking about this. But the voices are starting to come out. They're starting to be heard now about this, because it's a silent tax, and the middle class here in Canada cannot afford to pay those taxes. I mean, if you look at people's wages, how much they spend on shelter, how much they spend on housing, like we've got housing prices that have gone up drastically, way above the cost of inflation. We've got rent prices that have risen way above the cost of inflation. And wages have not risen, apart from for maybe the top 10%. And it's just insane that we have these times that we have right now. But this is a great time, because we are going to face this is a great time, and I believe it's a great time to save money, because, you know, there is going to be opportunity in the future. There's going to be opportunity to buy assets from those that have been ultra greedy during this pandemic. And believe me, there's been a lot of greed during this pandemic, and what comes around goes around. Like, I'm just going to use Calgary as an example. And again, nobody talks about this, but if you bought a house during the housing boom in Calgary, which was like March, April, May, you're already holding the bag. Like, the prices have already started to decline. The market has softened, and that is the crazy thing. And the crazy thing I also think is, here we're in Nanaimo. Nanaimo is in Vancouver Island. When we visited last year, the average price house, and don't quote me on this because I can't tell you exactly. I haven't got my editor, which is me, to edit these videos, but it was something like $650,000, which is a lot of money. It's an insane amount of money, considering Nanaimo has barely any economy, and it's just essentially a retirement community. And this has happened not just in Nanaimo, but places like Osoyoos, and anywhere that essentially people have just FOMO'd into the market. And the housing price went up, I was shocked, from $650,000 to something like $890,000. And that is just insane. That's nearly $1 million for a place that has no economy in less than a year. And that is a housing bubble, and that's what it looks like. But a lot of people thought, you know, I'm going to buy now, and they're going to get screwed. And I do feel bad for them. And, you know, there's always a chance that I'll be wrong, but I highly doubt it, because the thing is, the only argument that most people say against housing prices going down here in Canada is, well, everybody has said it for a long time and nothing's ever happened. It's not really an argument at all. But the thing is, now we're at a crossroads. We're at a point where we've had this event happen that has really shocked the Canadian economy. And the financial and monetary policy has been terrible throughout the pandemic. You see, during the pandemic, there should have been intense regulation on mortgages and such when the interest rates dropped, but they didn't do that because they used housing to prop the economy up, because housing represents a higher percent of GDP now in Canada than it did in the US before the 2008 financial crisis. So that means when housing goes down, it's also going to shock the economy. And you've got signs that it's a bubble everywhere. You've got realtors, the amount of realtor registrations, people becoming realtors, has shot up something like 350% in Calgary even. And that is just crazy when you think about it. And that doesn't mean like loads of them are going to become unemployed. Like, some of them will become successful realtors and they'll take over from the old dogs who were doing it before, but a lot of them will not. And the thing is, when a bubble happens, like, how you define a bubble is when prices increase so high relative to the fundamentals that it makes no sense. And here is a great example. in Nanaimo, because I'll tell you why. When you go around Nanaimo, it hasn't changed since last year. Are people 40% richer? Absolutely not. The housing prices may have gone up 40%, but it's an artificial increase based on tight supply and high demand. And that, coupled with low interest rates, has caused housing prices to spike. Now, I was reading about the late bubble in the late 80s that happened in Toronto, where housing prices cratered nearly 50%. And it was a similar thing. That's the thing. And people seem to forget this, that it was a similar thing that called it. They called it the urban exodus. There's even articles in the Globe and Mail about it. You can go and read them, the archived articles from way back then, which say about people escaping to the suburbs, all these people going to the suburbs and pushing up the prices everywhere. Exactly like what's happened right now. And sustainability of those prices is not going to happen. I mean, for example, the market, I know the most about Calgary. That's where we are. That's the market I monitor. I can't monitor every market in the country. But in Calgary, prices have already flattened. They're starting to decline. So buying now, a lot of people are going to buy who've been stood on the sidelines, because a lot of people are very impatient. They'll think, well, we're just going to buy now. You know, prices might decline 10%, and then they think, right, we're going to buy now. And that will effectively lift the prices slightly again. And that's the bull trap. It's called the bull trap in a bubble cycle. And it always happens where prices decline, and then people think, okay, I'm going to go and buy now. So that will probably happen. And just be prepared for it. And then prices will decline, and that's when you'll have the real decline. And I do believe, even though the two aren't connected, but the two are markets that are essentially very overvalued, the stock market and the real estate market. They are not interconnected anyway in terms of fundamentals. Well, they are in terms of liquidity, actually. But the thing is, I do think that the stock market will correct majorly. And that's mainly to do with them pricing in interest rates, how much liquidity has been sucked into the markets due to the interest rate cuts, and also the quantitative easing has inflated the markets horrendously. So anyway, guys, I hope this video was a little useful. Canada reports its inflation the end of this month, so watch out for that. I'm expecting it to be near 1% like the US as well. That will bring our year-over-year inflation growth to, I think, nearly 6%, which is just insane. So that means if your wages haven't risen in the past 2 years, you are nearly losing now like 8-9% in money. Like, your money is worth 8-9% less. And that is just the start of it, because the inflation through the CPI index is not what is normal, because people don't even spend 30% on housing. Most people spend 50% on housing here in Canada. So their wage growth is actually shrinking even more than that. It's more like 15%. So that's like taxes going up 50%. Now, if I said the government's putting up taxes 15% during the pandemic, you would be like, what the fuck? But this is just a silent tax. Someone has to say about it. But whatever, guys. But anyway, I thought I just had to voice my opinion on this. I'm really enjoying our time here in Nanaimo. I got loads of good videos, which I hope I can share with you guys next week when I'm back and can edit this video. So I will see you in the next video, guys. Anyway, peace and love as always. Bye.